Welcome back, young artists. Miss Blanca here. Today we will be learning about Alma Thomas, an African-American woman who proved that by being confident and being true to herself, she became a respectable artist. By learning about Alma Thomas, we will further learn about color, pattern, and texture. All important elements, principles of art that will be necessary to complete the art project that we will be working on later in this video. Therefore, let's waste no time and begin. Thomas was born in Columbus, Georgia, the oldest of 4 girls. In 1907, her family moved to Washington, D.C., seeking relief from the racial violence in the South. Though segregated, the nation's capital still offered more opportunities for African Americans in most cities in those years. As a girl, Thomas dreamed of being an architect and building bridges, but there were few women architects a century ago. Instead, she attended Howard University, becoming its first fine arts graduate in 1924. In 1924, Thomas began a 35-year career teaching at a D.C. junior high school. She was devoted to her students and organized art clubs, lectures, and student exhibitions for them. Teaching allowed her to support herself while pursuing her own painting part-time. She presented her abstract work in an exhibition at Howard University in 1966 at the age of 75. Thomas's abstractions have been compared with Byzantine mosaics, the pointillist technique of George Seurat, and the paintings of Washington Colors School. Yet her work is quite distinctive. Thomas became an important role model for women, African Americans, and older artists. She was the first African American woman to have a solo exhibition at New York's Whitney Museum of American Art, and she exhibited her paintings at the White House 3 times. What we will learn today: elements of art. Color, an element of art made up of 3 properties: hue, value, and intensity. Hue, name of the color. Value, hue's lightness and darkness. A color's value changes when white or black is added. Intensity, quality of brightness and purity. High intensity equals color is strong and bright. Low intensity equals color is faint and dull. Texture, an element of art that refers to the way things feel or look as if they feel if they are touched. Pattern, a principle of design that indicates movement created by the careful placement of repeated elements in a work of art to cause a visual tempo or beat. Techniques. Collage, a technique of composing a work of art by pasting on a single surface various materials not normally associated with one another, as newspaper clippings, parts of photographs, theater tickets, and fragments of an envelope. Learning about Alma Thomas is very inspiring because she teaches us how, even though she lived in a time where women did not have much support to be strong, independent creatives, she rises and makes a name for herself in the art world and amongst her community. She powerfully embraces her own individuality and culture to create great worlds of color and pattern. For today's art piece, we will be making a complementary color collage using colorful paper to try and practice Alma Thomas's method of creating art. Okay kids, today we're going to be making a collage, and in order to make a collage, we're going to need either, if you have a white sheet of paper, I'm going to be using this cardboard paper thing. If you have it, cool. If not, a regular white piece of paper will do. We're gonna need some glue, and the Elmer's glue, the washable school glue, is fine. We're gonna need a pencil, some shredded colorful paper. So what I did is I had some sheets of color paper, and I got some purple, blue, light blue, orange, yellow, and white, and I just cut them up using my hands, so just kind of like this. And then I put them into separate piles. And then we also need an eraser, only because we need erasers for big mistakes. And if we make a mistake, it's always good to have it rather than make a mistake and not have it. Because we are studying Alma Thomas's way of creating art, I decided that today we're gonna make a collage. And the first step in making a collage is having to make the outline of, and that way we know exactly where we're gonna place our little pieces of paper, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do, because our collage is gonna take the form of a landscape. So a landscape is when you look off into the horizon and you see maybe like a hill, and you see the sunset, and you see maybe some trees and maybe the moon. That's exactly what we're gonna be putting in our landscape today. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a mountain. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, nature is very imperfect, but perfect in its own way. I'm gonna make the mountain, just like that. And then right above here in the corner, I'm gonna make a circle moon. The next step is we're gonna separate it. So I'm gonna turn it sideways and we're just gonna make vertical lines. So vertical means going upward, right? So I'm gonna make one line right here. This is for the sky. And maybe another one right down here. Still in the sky, separating the sky. So this is gonna be dark blue, and this is gonna be light blue, and this is gonna be extra light blue. And then over here, we're gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna first make a vertical line right here and continue it on the other side of the mountain. And then make another one down here. Doesn't have to be perfect, and maybe just one more. Just like that. Now that we have our outline, the next step is to start pasting the actual pieces of colorful paper onto our cardboard or white sheet of paper here. And what we will be using will be some regular glue. So if you have some, that would be really cool. Just make sure you ask your parents for permission, and just have some a sheet of paper or something close by in case you make a mess. You can always clean it up, but it shouldn't be a problem. So we're gonna be making a pattern and a texture with this collage. So the purpose of placing the paper here and using it as the actual color instead of using crayons or paint is to create this like funny texture that when you touch it, it feels different than if you were touching a colored sheet of paper or a painted sheet of paper, right? It's actually gonna feel rougher, not so smooth, but it's gonna look really, really cool. And with the pattern that we're gonna be creating, so it shows movement and maybe a sort of tempo, for the sky, we're gonna make a pattern of going from dark to light. So here we're gonna use the purple, then the dark blue, and then the light blue. And then down here, we're gonna go the opposite. So we're gonna start with dark orange to like light orange, and then bright yellow at the top. So let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and start on the sky. And I'm just gonna grab my dark blues and purples here, and I'm gonna put them down here. So these are all my blues, and then over here I have some more. I have some purples that we can work with. So let's just keep this close by. So this one is gonna be purple. I'm gonna grab my purples and just start pasting. Just like that. You put a little dot. You don't need more than a dot of glue because then it's going to get really, really messy. Remember, a little dot of glue goes a long way. So make sure you're not overusing the glue. Just like that, you see a little piece of glue, little tiny dot, will work wonders for your piece. And I'm trying to stay even. So even though we're not coloring, we're going to try to stay within the line because we're not going to try to go over this line. That's going to be a different color, right? So I'm going to put a little dot right here. And I'm gonna just continue gluing just like that. You see how it's not, we were just starting, but it already has like some color and it's bringing the picture to life. So let's get more purple. I have this big piece. What I can do, I can just cut it up into smaller pieces just to have more. What you can also do is you can continue and put glue on this area. So all you have to do is now just continue pasting if you don't want to do the single dot on the colorful paper. So I'm gonna dab it and just kind of like put it right here. It's gonna look really cool when we're done. So I'm gonna continue this process until I'm done with that first layer. So I'm gonna go ahead and gather more purple, because I see we're gonna need a lot of purple. So just go ahead and gather it up and go ahead and keep putting glue on the area that you're gonna put. Don't put glue all over this place because sometimes it dries and you don't have sufficient time to go back and actually put the paper, and then it's just gonna be a waste of glue. So just put a little bit of glue as you're going, and then when you're done with that specific part, just add more glue. It's not a problem. But let's not be wasteful of our material. We have to be resourceful, so we have to use our material as best we can without actually wasting it. So you see how pretty that's looking? With this nice purple right here in the sky. It's gonna look like almost like it's a sunset, but it's more leaning towards the night already. Like the sun has gone, but there's still some light blue in the sky. Just like that. And I'm gonna put more glue here, just a little bit, and I'm gonna continue pasting. And if there's like, I have some glue right here in this area, just, it's okay. Go ahead and add another little sheet of colorful paper. This is a really fun project because it shows you that art can be anything you want it to be. And in this case, I'm choosing to create art out of glue and paper, right? We used a pencil to make the outline, but overall, the pencil is not going to be used again because I'm just choosing to use the paper and the glue, right? So there's many forms of creating art. And this is just another one. Remember guys, this is called a collage. So we're gonna make a landscape using paper and glue to make a picture. So I'm gonna continue. I'm almost done with this area. And because we're getting closer to the moon, just make sure you go around it and you don't glue inside of it because that's going to be a different color. So I ran out of the purple. I'm going to go back and get more. I have more. It's not a problem. So I'm taking it out. And I'm just going to continue pasting. You see that little texture? Like if you touch it, it might feel a little funny, but it's pretty awesome actually. The kids in class actually love cutting the paper. So what I do is I bring the colorful sheets and I give everyone like half a sheet of paper, and they create their own pockets so that they're able to put the colorful pieces of paper inside so that they can hold it and it won't be scattered. And I find it that a lot of them really enjoy creating collages. They're actually really fun. They're time consuming, but it's fun because it teaches us how to be patient, right? If you want something to come out nice and beautiful and something that really shows your hard work, well, I think a collage is definitely a nice way to prove that, because it shows your determination and wanting to finish it, and your patience and taking your time to glue every little piece together onto the sheet of paper. So a collage is always fun. And I'm almost done with this section. It's a little tricky right here in the corners, but if you realize that there are little corners that they're hard to get, what you can do is grab the little piece of paper and just make it smaller. You know, just cut it up. You don't need scissors. You can just cut it up with your hands. Nothing fancy. This is a piece of work you can do entirely with your hands, with your fingers. You can get a little messy with the glue, but you can wash your hands, right? It's not a problem. Continue pasting, and I just need one more little piece of glue right here, piece of paper right here, and I think we are done with this section, right? Look, and there's a little piece sticking out, so I can just go ahead and put a little bit of glue to make it stick. And there we go. We have our purple area. Doesn't that look cool? Now for the next part, we're gonna use the darker blue. So we're gonna put this purple color to the side, and now we're just gonna use the darker blue. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna add glue because we want to continue this pattern. And now I'm just gonna, oh, I dropped some. It's okay. It was the one that wanted to go on first, so it fell for a reason. Now I can just start gluing it, or more like pasting it. So make sure you go around on the line. You don't go over the line. So make sure you're like staying within the line, right? So continue. This is gonna look so awesome when we're done. So add a little more glue and make sure you go around the mountain because that's gonna be a different color. And like I said, we are working with complementary colors, and complementary colors are colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel, right? So we learned that last and maybe like a couple videos ago. And because they are colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel, they make each other stand out a lot when you put them next to each other. So right now we're working with the blues and the oranges. And again, this piece is gonna really stand out because it's gonna look really bright. The mountain's gonna look really bright against like the cool dark blue. And that's the whole point, right? We're working with complementary colors, we're making a collage, and we're making a pattern and adding texture to it because it is a collage, right? So we're just gonna continue. It's very time consuming, but again, if at any moment you want to pause it and take a little break, you can do that. Just make sure you're sitting comfortably. You have your water next to you. It's really good to stay hydrated, especially right now that it's getting hotter. Make sure you drink lots of water. And thinking about water, it's actually, well, talking about water, just looking at this blue that I'm working with reminds me of water. So I'm getting kind of thirsty, but I can wait. I can be patient, right? I can put a little piece right here. Wow, this is looking pretty amazing. I cannot wait to see what you guys are creating when you guys are watching this video. I bet it's gonna be even better than mine because a lot of my students have really, really good talent. And I'm very glad that I can always support them and encourage them to continue making art, especially in moments like these where we are all in our homes and we're kind of just locked away. Creating art gives us that escape, right? It gives us a moment of relief and maybe a moment of happiness and being able to create something that is colorful and fun. And if you guys have little brothers or sisters or your mom or dad or uncle or grandma, anybody who is good at art or wants to create something, they can always sit next to you and make this. You guys can make things together. Or if you guys want to create this, but you guys want to make a bigger version of it, maybe as a whole group or a team, you guys can also maybe create like a poster board, right? And make a bigger picture and have everybody collaborate. It means work together and make the picture. So you guys can have somebody putting the blue in one part and somebody else putting the purple in another part. That's always fun. And it shows that you guys can work together, right? But I mean, if not, you guys can always work separately. Everyone always has different ideas, right? It's pretty cool when our different ideas can come together and become one. But it's also very cool to see different ideas be presented, and it just shows our uniqueness, right? Everyone is different but is unique. All right, so I am done. Well, almost. So I have a little piece right here. Maybe right here. I'll put another one. Maybe right here too. Just to cover up that brown area. I don't want it to show so much, so I'm just gonna cover it up a little bit. Just a tiny bit. I don't need a big piece, so I'm just gonna cut a tiny little piece and put it right here. Nice. Okay, so we are done with our purple layer and our blue layer. Now we're gonna add the light blue. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these back in this little container. And now I'm gonna start gluing the light blue. So I'm gonna take out more of this light blue. And you see how these pieces are kind of big? You can always go ahead and cut them up just to make more. Just like that. I'm gonna add more glue. And now I'm gonna start gluing this. Now that I've added the glue, I'm gonna start putting on the little pieces of paper that are light blue, just to continue with this dark to light pattern here that we have. I'm gonna keep cutting because as this little corner is tiny, we don't need big pieces of paper, right? So we just need small ones. So I think I'm gonna take this little one and just cut it up and put it right here in the corner. And it's okay if it goes over the edge. We can cut that off later with scissors. So I need more glue right here. And I need a little piece right there. So I'm gonna add this little tiny piece right here. And then I'm gonna cut this tiny one and put it over here. Just like that. And then you see how I have this little peak right here? So I'm gonna add a little bit of glue and, ooh, look, I happen to have a little peak of a piece. So I'm just gonna glue it right here. And you guys can always cut it up and shape it the way you want it to. I luckily had one, but it works in my favor. And there's a tiny, tiny little peak. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of glue and cut a tiny, tiny, tiny little piece of blue paper to paste there. Just like that. And if it goes over the edge, remember we can cut it off. Or you can fold it. But I think I'm gonna come back and cut it later. Okay, now I'm gonna continue over here on this part. So add the glue in the area that I'm gonna be working on. Don't add too much. You don't need an excessive amount of glue, which means a lot of glue because you're just wasting it. Again, we're trying to be resourceful with our material, and being resourceful means using only what we need to create our piece of art, right? We don't need too much glue because we're wasting it. We just need enough to glue the little piece of paper on and have it stick. So this piece is big. I'm just gonna cut it up with my fingers. And I'm gonna continue to paste right there. I'm gonna put this slightly bigger one right here. And then I'm gonna put this one right here. Isn't that looking really, really cool? I can't wait to finish this piece. Okay kids, pretty soon we are going to take a break, but in the meantime, let's focus all of our energy on finishing this part of the sky. I love this specific cool color because it reminds me of water, and the weather right now is really hot. Just thinking of this cool color cools me down. Okay kids, now is a perfect time to take a break. Let's stretch, drink water, or simply take a breath, and when we return, we will continue working on our beautiful art piece. Make sure you look for part 2 of this video. See you in a bit.